player.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the DFS Bros for our Thanksgiving special, where Kirk and I are going to break down this Thanksgiving slate for you guys. It's 3 games compared to our usual 11, so it's a little bit different. Kirk, in your experience in DFS, what have been the differences between a small 3-game slate versus the regular 11-game slate?
Basically, touchdowns are pretty much everything. You want people with a lot of target volume. And watch the Vegas totals.
Mm-hmm.
So Vegas is a lot better than all of us. There's a reason why they make as much money as they do, because they're really good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So look at the totals, target those totals. You can game stack a little bit. It's not necessary, but make sure you have correlation. Don't just throw random pieces together. Have some QBs with wide receivers, tight ends, and the run back. Still look for that narrative.
Yeah, speaking of the game totals, I have them right here in front of me. Lions and Texans is 51.5. Washington, Dallas is 46. Ravens and Steelers is 44.5. So we're going from a pretty high total at the start of the day to a very small total towards the end. So with that being said, Lions and Texans is obviously going to be the most targeted game for quarterbacks and wide receivers, while Washington, Dallas, Ravens, Steelers, their players will probably be more likely tight ends and running backs defense. So let's go and get started to the foundation of a football team, which is the quarterback. Kirk, what do you think about quarterback for this slate?
So it's going to be by far the most popular pick, Watson. There's 6 QBs. I'm only going to use one. Pretty much cash game, GPP, everything. I'm going all in. First slate. It's going to be very popular also because it's the first game of the slate. So people like to see their players perform early. It's just the same thing when we used to have DraftKings do the Sunday night game. It was very rarely used. People didn't like having players and have to wait for them to perform that late. They like to see their money and they like to see how much they won early. So Watson has a safe floor, tremendous upside. Ever since they let the coach go, he scored 30, 35, 27, 24, 14, but that was in the win game, so I'm really kind of canceling that out completely. So like I said, 30, 35, 27, 24, 34. I mean, it's insane. He's averaging probably over 30 since they switched head coaches, and there's no one else with that upside. I understand first thing people are going to say is Lamar Jackson.
Right.
We haven't seen that this year, and it's the Steelers. Against the Steelers, this year, he scored 14 in last year.
He had 18 this year, 14 last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I was going to say, and then last year he scored 14 on his tremendous season. So it's just if he has a great game, maybe he hits like 20, 22, 23. But Watson has that 30, 35, especially against this Lions defense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Watson is one of the only quarterbacks I'm touching this slate. To counter some of the exposure that Watson has, I will probably have a lot of Matthew Stafford as well. They're both the only both defenses are the only defenses on this slate that are allowing their quarterbacks over 20 points a game outside of the Dallas Cowboys. But Matthew Stafford and Deshaun Watson are going to be my 2 highest owned quarterbacks. I like the running backs. And I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 running backs written down with a possible toss-up between a few of them. So the running backs that I'm targeting are Zeke, DeAndre Swift, James Conner, Antonio Gibson, Duke Johnson, Gus Edwards. If Swift misses, I don't know if I would touch Kerryon or Adrian Peterson. Both of them were so bad last week, it's insane. If Swift misses, I think that bumps Matthew Stafford up more. So Kirk, tell me which running backs you are targeting this weekend.
So Swift did practice today,
He was
Tuesday.
Limited though.
Yeah. But he had a concussion. It's one of those things, if he passes the protocol, he's going to be 100% healthy.
Right.
It's not like a knee where they're going to have to limit his snaps or anything. I'm going thinking that he is going to play. And with Galladay missing practice today, I think he's not. So that's the way I'm looking at this slate. And luckily it's the first game of the slate. But if Swift is active, he's 100% lock. This is an awful Houston defense, bottom 3 in the run. The coach already says it's his team. Basically, it's his backfield, and they're going to run. He's going to be the bell cow. And at 6,500, I just think it's a smash play. I don't see he's going to be my number 1 running back, probably 100% owned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's very few running backs I like on this list right now. I'm thinking Antonio.
Hopefully the Q tag lowers his ownership a little bit,
especially with the more casual players.
That first game, everybody's going to try to load up on. But I think it's just you got to make sure you eat the chalk.
Yeah.
The game sure you don't miss at the other stuff.
Right. The game starts at 12:30, so you'll get that injury report around 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So make
it is
that
a lot on Detroit injury report to watch.
Mm-hmm. But with that being said, I think my 2 absolute favorites are Antonio Gibson and then DeAndre Swift, and then possibly Duke Johnson. So Kirk, we're gonna go ahead and move on to wide receivers. I'll let you take.
Quick thing on Gibson. He scored 9 every week but week 1. So he's got a great floor for you. He scored 17 plus in 3 of the last 4. So he's been utilized a ton. And it does look like this with it being a divisional matchup. Both teams are going to come in. Zeke had a hot game. I think both teams are going to want to push the ball with their running back, just pound the ground and pound. But I just think that it's going to be a running day instead of a shootout passing. So I do like Gibson at his price. And like you said, Edwards, 4,000. I know Pittsburgh defense is tough, but the floor is so safe with them.
Yeah, he had double-digit points last game, and he had and J.K. Dobbins also had double-digit points. They both got over 15 carries last game with Mark Ingram out. Gus Edwards had 130 yards against this team last year. I'm not afraid to play him at 4,000 against the Steelers defense. They're susceptible to long runs. They will stop you at the line of scrimmage more times than not. But we've seen a few times this season where a running back's been able to bust one out and take it to. So when it comes to wide receivers, obviously we have the 2 guys at the top, Will Fuller and Terry McLaurin. Rightfully, I think they'll be number 1 and number 2 owned for percentage-wise. Then you have the Steelers guys, Kenny Golladay, another Steeler guy. I'm not really focused. I'm really focused on these 2. But then I'd come down to Marvin Jones, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Marquise Brown as a deep flyer if you're trying to win a tournament. Kirk, you gotta go big or go home sometimes, man. So, Kirk, what are you thinking for your wide receivers?
So Dallas secondary has been torched all year. We just saw what Thielen was able to do to him. Jefferson had a good second half. McLaurin looks great. He's already had a good game this year against them. I love Deshaun Watson. Fuller could drop a 30-point game anytime, and then he's going to have a safe floor as well of probably around 14. So that won't hurt you at all, especially on a soft pricing slate. I'm kind of jamming in him and Cooks. Cooks is still it's insane that he's still a $5,000 receiver. He needs to be in the 6K range. Fuller needs to be in the 7K. The DK has to fix this, or people are just going to keep doing the stack. Luckily, last week Watson just threw the ball to everyone, but especially now with Cobb being hurt and with Stills possibly being out as well, you're going to see a very condensed market share. Don't see Kiki QT having 10 catches. This isn't the QT from 2 or 3.
Pay off.
But I don't think I'm going to hit on Jones Jr. this week unless Galladay, Swift, Hawkinson. If 2 of them are out, then I could see going to them. But I'm just going to let everybody chase that. And then Cooper. What's your thoughts on Cooper? Or any of the college receivers? Cooper.
I think
Lamb.
So, Kirk, you know my personal opinion on these Dallas receivers from our conversations off camera. You know that I'm a firm believer that CeeDee Lamb is the most talented of the 3, and that Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup are nowhere near as talented as CD Lamb. And I'm going to put talent above everything else any day of the week. I don't care that Amari Cooper has more experience. I don't care that Michael Gallup has more experience. CD is more talented than both of them. So if it came down to picking one of the three, I'd pick CD Lamb. I actually have the same question for you, but with the Steelers receivers. Because if I put one in, I'm only going to put one Steelers receiver in if I have to, because the target share is not that great. So, Kirk, between Deontay, Chase, and
target
Juju,
share is not that great. Everyone's getting 25%.
Yeah, let me re-explain what I meant. The target share is great, but I feel like only one or two go off each week.
Two every week. Every week there's two guys.
If Juju misses this game, are you locking in Deontay or Chase?
I think if Juju misses this game, I think that there's reason to lock in both, or pick one of them and then play Ebron. I really like Ebron at his price tag. He's had 5+ targets in the last 5 games, but we're worrying about receivers right now. I don't like Juju if he plays. It's a tough matchup going against Humphreys in the slot, one of the premier slot cornerbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about the outside cornerbacks, they're still good. They got Jimmy Smith. They got
Marcus Peters.
And this defensive secondary is no joke. They're getting they haven't been as good, and they're all nicked up a little bit. But Claypool, his metrics, his size, speed, everything is off the charts, and his air yards. A lot of pros look at that all the time and talk about that. I mean, he's running about 40% of the team's air yards. He's being looked at nearly I think it's also 40% when in the red zone. So the touchdowns are there, and they utilize them in the running game when they get close to the end zone. So he has 3 touchdown upside. His floor is usually 1. It's crazy to think.
Yeah, but he has 3 touchdown upside down.
Yeah, but I'm this slate. I'm targeting targets more than anything. And just seeing Deontay Johnson when he's healthy, he scored 10 points, 23 points, 29, 14, 26, 26. It's a lot of 20s. Those are slate breaking on a small slate. 10+ targets every healthy game he's played. At 10 targets, I can't pass that up. He's my lock.
So Deontay Johnson over the other 2 guys.
Yep. But if Juju's out, I'd probably play 2.
Yeah, I don't blame you. All 3 receivers are fantastic. I know this is a little
wide receiver.
Yeah.
So what are you looking at on tight end this week?
So I told you before we started, there's really only 3 that I'm going to, and I think one of them is going to be in it more than the others. I'm looking at Mark Andrews, T.J. Hawkinson, and Logan Thomas, with more than likely having T.J. Hawkinson and more of them than not. If T.J. Hawkinson is out, as you see the questionable tag, I'll probably have more Logan Thomas than anything.
Yeah. So to me, I'm kind of avoiding Andrews. Pittsburgh is first against tight end. With no Boyle, though, it kind of worries me. He scored 13 and 20. He's getting a lot more targets, getting utilized a lot more, and running a lot more routes. But his career versus Pittsburgh, he scored 3, 8, 9, and 6. And for a guy that I don't think is going to have that 20-point upside this week going against Pitt, I'm kind of limiting my – I don't think I honestly have any, just because I'm going to save that money just so I can pretty much lock whatever else I want.
Right.
I don't want too much Baltimore this week because Steelers' defense is good. So I'm going to go ahead and take Gus Edwards where I can, and that'll probably be as much Baltimore exposure as I'm going to get or feel comfortable with. So Hawkinson hasn't been a tight end that plays hurt well. Last year, he had that great 3 touchdown game to start the season off, got hurt throughout the year, and just never was the same. This year, his floor has been insane, though. He's been under 9 points one time this year. So he's guaranteed just get you 10 points. If all the guys are healthy, I'm fading him. If Swift's the only guy that plays and Galladay's out, there's merit to playing him. But if both of them are in, I'm avoiding it. He's been under 8 points only 2 times since week 3. I'm watching the Juju news. Juju's out. I'm loading up on Ebron. 5 targets or more last 5 games. Like I said earlier, just one of the higher total points, point totals, team totals on the slate. And if you find out I don't think he's gonna be that highly owned, and he has good touchdown upside. Other than that, I'm not big on Schultz. With Dalton, though, he scored 7 and 12. And then Thomas, he had 16 versus Dallas last time. I know he burnt me last week. Luckily, I gravitated last minute, made some adjustments, and got on the Mark Andrews kick, especially when he scored, what was it? Close to 20 points?
It was 20 points.
Yeah.
Right over. It was like
I should have had another touchdown and should have had the 100-yard bonus. So it could have been a 30-point day.
Right.
But I just don't think I can't trust Thomas right now.
Yeah, I mean, there, like I said with the quarterbacks, I understand the logic behind playing most of these guys.
Secure guys.
Right.
I think honestly everybody's going to score around 8, so that's why I'm going with 8 Ebron. Everyone's going to be in that 8 to 12 range.
Yeah.
We'll move on to defense now. And what are you seeing at defense? I mean, only 6 defenses to choose from. The pricing, we got the cheapest at 22 and the highest at 42, so a $2,000 difference.
So obviously, I'm going to go to the game with the lowest total, and that is the Ravens versus the Steelers. With this being the total, I don't exactly know the spread, but I believe it's 3 or 4 points. Kirk, do you have it on hand?
5.5. Baltimore is 20. Pittsburgh 25.5.
So obviously,
earlier.
The Steelers are a great choice because they got 18 fantasy points against the Ravens last game. And I think Steelers-Ravens will be the most popular, obviously. But I can say for myself, I'm not touching the Lions. I'm not touching the Texans.
Ownership right now, from what I'm hearing online, is going to be gravitating towards Washington.
I can see that. The other 4 teams, I will have some in. I'll just plug my lineup in, and whatever I have money left over for, that's the defense I'm going to have. They're all far enough apart to where if I just need to make 1 or 2 small adjustments, it can be done.
All right. So Lions against Houston, there's no way. Even if you only have $2,200 left over, pick a different team.
Fix something.
Fix something.
Take your tight end and move him down some.
Yeah, now that we know that Swift or Galladay will probably play, I'm not going to use the Texans. Texans only had 1 game over 5 this entire year. I don't think a defense is going to drop 20 and break the slate. So there's merit to just kind of picking whoever. But I play a lot of cash. So to me, when I looked at it, I think the Steelers are going to be the number one. I can kind of fit them with the players I want, especially how cheap Cooks is and going down to Ebron. So I'm going to have a lot of the Steelers. The last 4, they scored 17, 12, 7, 18. They've been under 7 points only 1 time this year. Other than that, Washington at Dallas. On the road, though, Washington has scored 0 against Detroit, 4 against the Giants, and we know they're not that great. 1 against Cleveland at the beginning of the year when Cleveland was bad, and 4 against Arizona. So, yeah, on the road,
what do you mean when Cleveland was bad?
Hey,
Cleveland's been good all season, man.
Not QB play.
Oh, yeah. But
yeah. And just, like I said, on the road, they don't seem like a scary defense. So I'm not too worried about them. At home, yes, they've put up some big double-digit point games. So I think I might actually fade Washington because of the ownership. And because Dalton's a decent quarterback with those weapons. And I think it's going to be a slower-paced game. That's going to be the game that kind of decides the whole slate, I think.
Yeah, I can see that as well.
But
I think the top game with the Lions and Texans and the closing game, Ravens and Steelers, we know what we're getting out of those 2 games. I feel like we don't know what we're getting out of Washington versus Dallas.
No, not at all.
That game can go either way.
And then Ravens, last 4, they scored 3, 1, 14, 4. I don't want to Big Ben's not throwing picks this year. He's not getting sacked. So I don't want anything to do with that. Cowboys, surprisingly, at 2,800 lets you kind of get that extra good player, instead of kind of getting a $4,000 player, you can kind of move up to the 5 in a lot of the builds I was making. So I've kind of built a lot with them, but I'm still mostly on the Steelers. But Cowboys so far in the division, they scored 9, 2, and 13. 2 was against the Redskins, but that's just when they had the awful quarterback play. I think that the game's going to slow down so much, and both I think Washington can make mistakes. Don't like picking on Alex Smith, but like I said, they scored 9 and 13. They know each other in division, so I could see it at 2,800, kind of treading water with the rest of them and being the cheaper play.
Yeah, like I said, close out our Thanksgiving special that we have here today. I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe. Don't get COVID. And enjoy your times with your family. You all have a good one, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep.